July 1973, more than a year after the Watergate break-in. What was once dismissed as a third-rate burglary became the focus of Senate hearings, televised live nationwide. July 16th, former presidential aide Alexander Butterfield told the Senate committee that Nixon had a hidden taping system. What prompted the committee to ask about listening devices in the Oval Office? A Senate committee staffer stumbled upon the information. Before Butterfield could appear in front of the committee, he had to sit through a round of questioning. The committee staffers were looking for written or recorded evidence of Nixon's involvement.
And I held him off for 4.5 hours. Finally, a guy asked me the direct question, and I said, yes, I'm sorry you asked me that question, but the answer is yes, there were listening devices.
Why was Nixon taping his conversations? The taping system was for his memoirs. Since Franklin Delano Roosevelt, presidents had secretly recorded conversations in the Oval Office. Nixon installed the most extensive system of microphones and wiretaps to date. When the taping system was revealed, the president could have erased the tapes because they belonged to him. Why didn't Nixon destroy the tapes? He intended to erase the most sensitive recordings, but never did. In July 1973, Butterfield revealed the existence of the taping system. At the time, the president was in the hospital with bronchial pneumonia. He turned to his former chief of staff, Bob Haldeman, for help. Leonard Garment, Nixon's legal counsel, says that Haldeman was the only person who had intimate knowledge of the recordings, including the March 21st conversation in which John Dean referred to a, quote, cancer on the presidency.
Haldeman weighed in on the side of keeping the tapes. He thought that that conversation, and presumably other conversations that he knew about, would help the president rather than hurt him.
July 1974. The House Judiciary Committee passed the third and final article of impeachment. It appeared that the full House would vote in favor of impeachment, prompting a trial in the Senate. But if the Senate voted to acquit him of all charges, he could serve out his term. Would the Senate have removed Nixon from office? Yes. Even members of his own party were poised to remove him. On August 7th, Republican Senator Barry Goldwater visited the White House with a sobering message for the president. Nixon did not have the votes to avoid a conviction by the necessary 2/3 majority in the Senate.
It was Barry Goldwater and 2 other top Republicans who went to him essentially and told him, Mr. President, the jig's up.
With impeachment looming, what was the president's state of mind? He was moody, unstable, and at times appeared suicidal. Nixon met with his chief of staff, General Alexander Haig. The president knew Haig's military background and said, quote, "You have a way of handling problems like this. Somebody leaves a pistol in the drawer. I don't have a pistol." August 8th, the president finally succumbs to the Watergate scandal.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
After delivering his resignation speech, the president stayed up until 1:30 a.m., wandering the halls of the White House and reflecting on the third-rate burglary that ended his career. More than 2 years after the event, the nation still wondered, did President Nixon play any role in the Watergate break-in? There is no clear evidence linking him to the planning or execution of the actual burglary. However, he created the plumbers unit and tacitly approved covert operations that led to Watergate, and his repeated demands for information on his enemies inspired the break-in.
The decision to go into the Watergate is the result of any number of conversations that Nixon has with his immediate staff saying, we've got to get more stuff on them.
On August 9th, 1974, Richard Nixon said goodbye to the White House, leaving one huge question behind. What did the president know, and when did he know it? Nixon's crime was the Watergate cover-up, which he orchestrated. In the final report, it's clear that Watergate dramatically eroded the power and prestige of the presidency. After Watergate, Congress took a series of steps to counteract Nixon's policies. It voted to cut the president's post-war funding of the South Vietnamese government, leading to the fall of Saigon. It overrode Nixon's veto to pass the War Powers Act, which restricted the president's ability to unilaterally enter a prolonged military conflict. And in hopes of preventing similar scandals, it required candidates to disclose their campaign funds.
My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over.